What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel in the stock market highlights video. Pretty much we're going to go over the past couple days of YouTube streams, market analysis, and trade calls, and kind of make a shorter video of it. So hope you guys like it. Stay tuned. This is the first thing we're jumping into. This is a stream from a couple days back. Ideally on this YouTube stream, you can see this yellow box, pre-market support trend over under, used as pullback targets and trailing support. So ideally what we're doing in this portion of the YouTube stream from the other day is we're taking the volume weighted average price of the pre-market trading session and then using those volume weighted average prices as targets to pull the stock market back to going into the day's open. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this video so we can get to the conclusion of this trade idea. Now, it doesn't really look like a whole lot or anything special here, but ultimately this is that same day. And as you can see, essentially the market pulls back right into the open, into those volume weighted average prices. So that would be kind of an early morning sell target from pre-market levels completing going into the open. So that would be kind of trade idea number one. So this is part of a video from the other day, which is a really important part of a video, which pretty much goes on to show just before the markets enter an uptrend. So again, I'm going to go ahead and kind of click play and let you guys listen to a part of this.
Again, because we're getting to a level that could start to cause the new uptrend. Remember, we've been in a bearish market, so this is a breakdown. Market is bearish. This is an oversold bounce and bottom. Market reverses up. And then this is where it enters uptrend. So the path.
All right, so basically you can see right there, we're taking the market that was the past couple weeks and showing you where the market is going to enter an uptrend. All right, so what we're going to do is just kind of quickly turn into the market now and see what has happened since we mentioned where the uptrend would start. All right, so I've scrolled back the S&P 500 chart to where it was. All right, let me drag this screen back and let's look at that. All right, you can see this is the same chart. All right, you can see that the market was again in a downtrend, broke down, just like here, in a downtrend, broke down. We reversed back up, etc. And just as I stated in this video, this is where the market gets interesting because we're at the uptrend, downtrend, over, under. So this is where the market could go from negative back to positive, all right? And so what ends up happening, as we said, when the market gets over the 50 SMA, what's going to happen? The uptrend can start. So now let's fast forward on this chart and we'll see what has happened. There's your uptrend start, all right? So again, couple weeks back in our YouTube streams, in our videos, walking you guys through where you can expect uptrends to start or resume back again on the S&P 500. And that was last Friday at the end of the day, close. Let's continue. All right, so now we're looking at a part of a stream from I think 2 days ago. This is where we are talking about the volatility index. So if we kind of go back to where we just were, again, the volatility index. So this is during the pre-market session before the market is open, and we've identified the areas where we'd expect the volatility index to pull back on that day. So again, let's go ahead, pull up the volatility index chart and see why we pick those as the pullback targets for the volatility index on that day going into that morning. Okay, here we are. This was a stream from just a couple days back, and what I've done is I have set up the chart so they're exactly the same. So the one on the top, this is during the YouTube stream from a couple days ago, and the chart on the bottom is me going back in time now to where that was at. So I've set them up exactly the same. So you can see in this YouTube stream, stock market live, market will drop to this, blah, blah, blah. So essentially in the morning during the pre-market session, we identified the volatility index would be very likely to pull back to the prices of T1, T2 here on the screen, which is $16 and some change to $16.20. So let's bring up the chart and let's see what ended up happening on that day. So on that day, we end up selling down to T1. You can see right there how we wick down to T1, bounce the VIX, break T1, and then we sell T2, and you see how it bounces exactly. You see how exactly our T1 and T2 end up creating the low of these candles. Part of the reason why is because those are SMA calculations and algorithms, high frequency trading computers, and yada, yada, yada. They use SMAs and stuff like that. So real quick, the reason why we had picked those price locations is because on the chart that day, those would be the locations of essentially the 30-minute and the 1-hour trend. So you see where this yellow line is at and how it is it's overlapping that 30-minute SMA. So that's really what it was. We used a 30-minute SMA, and then down here T2, that would be a 1-hour SMA. So if we go to there, you'll see that it overlaps the 1 hour. So all we really did on that day was take a 30-minute 50 SMA and a 1-hour 50 SMA and say to ourselves that the volatility index hasn't back tested those, so that's why we're going to sell the VIX down to back test those levels that morning. So again, this is what we do on our live streams. We try to provide foresight, accurate prediction analysis for you guys, so that way you can tune in and have basically kind of know what's going to happen in the market. Here's just another kind of quick snippet you can see from that YouTube stream that day. We're talking about the VIX pullback targets T1, T2, and this is pretty much just those VIX targets completing in real time and me talking about it. So again, real cool stuff. Again, this is what we provide on the YouTube stream: foresight, analysis, and predictions, and try to hand it out for free on YouTube. Here's another fun one on the day. So a couple days back, market's kind of going up, and you can see we're anchoring volume weighted average prices to the bottom of that 1 minute move, basically assuming that the market is going to pull back to that green and red box you see highlighted on the screen. You'll see me kind of drawing some stuff here in just a second, right? Or right there. So anyways, you see how we're pulling back down into that box. So this is a strategy we use pretty frequently where we take the volume weighted average price of long moves, anchor it to the low of a move, and expect that pullbacks and retraces are going to be into that key volume weighted average price. It's more of a way to kind of stop people out of trends and trades and so on. So anyway, that was kind of like a micro trade idea that pretty much takes place. So this is pretty cool. You'll kind of see in real time how we pretty much take volume weighted average prices of 1 minute candles and kind of trap markets in real time. So I kind of fast forward a little bit. So right here, you're going to see how in this video we anchor a 1 minute VWAP to the low, put that little red box there. That becomes a 1 minute VWAP support. And then in a second, you're going to see how the market ends up bouncing right there. You can see where my cursor's at. See how that blue line is anchored to the bottom of that candle. That's a 1 minute volume weighted average price. Market comes down, pretty much holds right about there, then starts going green. Just watch. All right, ready? And then you'll see I do it again. Ready? So as the market kind of starts going up, we anchor to the last green, yada yada. It gets a little bit better as we go to here. So you see how, watch, ready? Watch this. All right, so you see how I have no VWAP anchored to the high of that red candle. We're going to do that in just a second here. All right, so let's go to here. So you see how now there's an anchor on the top of that, and we're basically saying the market is now going to move up into that red box, red and green box on the high. So again, when you take the volume weighted average price of previous price action that's happened in the market, you get an idea for where those volume weighted average prices are in the magnets of markets. So the way that I would interpret that is we threw that volume weighted average price on the high of that last 1 minute red candle and said to ourselves, to stop traders out of that market, we'd have to go up to that price. So that's what we do. We drive the market up to that price anyway. So 1 minute VWAP. So you can see they're basically predicting the market there in the 1 minute micro before it happens, which isn't as hard to do because it's just a 1 minute chart, right? Trading from high to low there. But anyways, very good stuff about how we use 1 minute volume weighted average prices to assume where price action is going to go before it goes there. So anyways, cheers to that. Stay tuned. Real quick, you're going to kind of see me repeat the process, but looking for a support now. So watch, I'm going to fast forward this. You'll see me start deleting some stuff and then moving anchors and adjusting boxes. Ready? Watch right there. So you see how I've now added the VWAP to these candles right there. You'll see me adjust this box most likely in a second up and say this is where the support is now, right there. All right, and that's basically what we're doing is we're taking the volume weighted average price of the previous higher low, and then that's where our new higher low is going to be developed. So that's why the low of that 1 minute candle wicks there. Again, we're taking the volume weighted average price of the previous low and dip, extrapolating it forward, market goes up, pulls back, holds right there as support. So that's kind of how you make the 1 minute trends to the upside, is by taking the previous higher lows and the VWAPs of the previous higher lows, extrapolating them forward to get your new higher low, low risk support for the future. Anyways, cheers. All right, this is a stream from I think a day and a half ago or 2 days ago. Again, this is the volatility index. This is basically us looking at the pre-market and suggesting we're going to be looking to pull the market back on the VIX down towards like this, looks like 16, maybe like 1610, 1620s or so. So we'll check that out, see what ended up happening. Okay, here we are once again. We've brought up a chart of the volatility index and we've overlapped that to the stream from a couple days back, bringing us to the same exact market location. Again, in the YouTube stream, we talk about, hey, we have pullback targets on the volatility index down to the price of 1630, arguably 1620. Main reason why is the same reason as before. The 1 hour and the 30-minute levels are there and they have not yet back tested their breakout. So again, that's a likely target we're going to look to bring the volatility index down towards. So what we're going to do is bring up the volatility index chart now, and we're going to kind of fast forward to the chart, see what ends up happening. Do we get those targets that we presented to the public on that live stream? Fast forward, and market sells down into those two yellow lines, which are the target. So again, just kind of going on to emphasize, hey guys, pre-market, VIX has pullback destinations to here. Why? Because it's an unback tested area, so we're going to look to back test it. So, okay guys, stream from the other day. Again, this is during the pre-market session. You can see that red box on the screen. Again, we do this every day, live streaming. That is our 30-minute volume weighted average price. You actually saw another example of, I think, already in this video in the beginning. But anyways, that's our pullback target for that day during the stream in the early morning session. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward through a bunch of our analysis and then get to where you're pretty much just going to see that pullback target complete. So this is where the market, I believe, is getting close to open. You can see we're anchoring the uptrend of pre-market, saying this is the key volume trend. We're going to pull the markets back to here and then arguably look for support. And again, this is all verifiable if you go back and have the time to watch these streams. I'm just going through this stuff quickly so you can see the cool stuff. Again, the highlights, what you want to know, like how we pull the market back at the open, where we look to support the market as we pull the market back at the open. This will be one of those ideas where, again, we have the volume weighted average price pre-market. This is the target, pull it back, look for support here. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of fast forward a little bit. So you can see markets are doing what? They're pulling back down to where, and you can even see their volume weighted average prices. So they adjust a little bit. They're not, stagnant, if you will. They do adjust a little. So you can see we're pulling that market back. And what am I saying? We're pulling it down to that box, blah, blah, blah. And then I think I draw it right there. You kind of can see that as we pull the market down into this box, that's kind of the support over under. This is where the pre-market volume needs to support to keep the uptrend up. If we start to go below there, that's where we kind of flip bearish. So that VWAP is always the initial pullback to support target. If support breaks, then we kind of look to take it down more. But in this case, right, until we're below, it's not bearish. So you kind of see we pull the market back to about that yellow box or that box, whatever, and then there's your blow up. The market blows back up, right? Because that's that pre-market volume weighted average price trend still holding support. So we're going to move the markets higher there. So that's that. Okay, so it's at this point on this day in this stream, you can see the market's kind of top, the market's coming down. Ideally, what I'm going to show you here is how you take volume weighted average prices, anchor them to the high of a move, and then use that as an expected back test area. So you can use this for counter long scalp trades. You could also use this for lower high expected entry locations. Nonetheless, you're basically going to see us anchor VWAPs and then predict where the price is going to go before it goes there. So let's fast forward it. All right, so you can kind of see, see how the anchors are on the top of the move. So again, we're taking the volume weighted average price of the current downward swing, downward sell move, and we're mapping off where short-term traders volume VWAP levels are at. And then we're going to go retrace them to essentially piss them all off, right? So everyone's selling the market down, it's all happy, go lucky. And then what we're doing is we're tracking their volume weighted average price. That's that red box, that's that green box. I'm saying, hey guys, this is our counter target. Once this kind of runs out of steam, starts to bounce a little bit, our main objective is to backtrack all the people that were just selling the markets down. I think you'll see me draw a couple arrows like right there to be even more detailed, like a kid's drawing book, like, hey guys, there's the arrow. If it wasn't clear enough, here's the VWAP, here's the arrow, there's the box. Like, that's what we're trying to do. For whatever reason, this is being lame and all not loading right. So let's just kind of fast forward. We'll get to the good stuff. Ready? So we're going to go to about right there. Doink. Pause the stream. So you can see how the market is now jumped back up into that volume weighted average price. If you ask me, the main reason is because that's the VWAP of everyone that was just selling the market in the short term. So if we're not going to keep going down, the best thing to do is go back up and then stop out a bunch of people, right? So that's assuming what we do there in my brain. So anyways, that would be that trade idea complete in real time on the stream, showing you how we take levels from the high of the day, extrapolate them forward, use that as a predictable, expected, targetable area within the next 5 or 10 minutes of the day. Cheers. So again, this is kind of going back to the volatility index, the most recent trade idea that we talked about in this video, how we're like, hey, we're going to look for the VIX to kind of pull back to these levels, so on and so forth. Even after the VIX had that big spike up on that day, so remember how we're just talking about, hey, remember how we said the VIX could pull back down to 1620, 1630? It started going there and it had this wicked bounce. That's just to even show that even after us having that big bounce, we were still targeting down. So it's not like we let that little blip long in the morning change our bias or our thesis or our targets. It's just, sometimes the markets kind of move the way they want, irregardless of where you think it can go. And so that's just to go to show that even with the big bounce there on that day, we were still targeting down on the VIX and still ended up getting it. So this is what we're looking at right here, how we said this is this, that's that, and then this would be down to there. So that's, if I were to remake the drawing that you're seeing in this YouTube stream, that's what it would be like. And if I were to change the pattern to a 5-minute, it will probably look exact or close to. So if we go to a 5-minute, that's, I think, what it looks like. 1 and 5, yeah. Yep, so there you go, right? So cheers. If you're still watching, thanks for tuning in. This is actually where it gets pretty cool because we're starting to single-handedly go through individual stocks and see which ones might be triggering uptrends. Again, all verifiable if you go back and watch the stream, but nonetheless, we're going to kind of fast forward here and we're going to start talking about AVGO. So here's the stock AVGO. So this was from, I believe, yesterday. So yesterday, see how we have the yellow line and the vertical line mapping off the price of $331.53. If you go back in the stream from yesterday and you go to the mark of 2 hours and 43 minutes, give or take, you'll pretty much see, hey guys, this is AVGO. It has the potential to be starting an uptrend right now, okay? So let's go look at AVGO and kind of map it off and compare it the same. All right, let's first give you guys some more context. Why is it at that point in the stream from yesterday we're talking about, hey, AVGO might be starting an uptrend, blah, 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 blah. Let's take a look at it. So the main reason why we're talking about AVGO potentially starting an uptrend there is because it could potentially be starting an uptrend. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of zoom back here. I don't know why this is being so goofy, but it's all just weird sessions, more settings. How do I reset it? I don't know why. Reset scale price. There we go. All right, so real quick, we're going to go back to AVGO, where we're at today. So we're going to zoom in here. Ready? And we're going to look at where it started an uptrend. So you can see price of AVGO has been in a downtrend. And just yesterday, we got back to the uptrend level and started to get above it. So I said, hey guys, this is interesting because AVGO could be starting an uptrend. So now let's go and look at the 1-minute chart here, and we'll throw on some extended hours. So we're going to look extended hours, 1 minute. Or maybe even a 5-minute, either way. So, or we'll do a 1-minute, right? So let's go back and look at the 1-minute real fast. Trading views being so lame. All right, there we go. All right, so there's the 1-minute, right? We're talking about, hey guys, AVGO could be starting an uptrend right there. Go look at the YouTube stream. See, it's the same thing. Yellow line, vertical line, identifying where we're transitioning potentially to the uptrend. And now let's see what happened to AVGO overnight and into today. A pretty decent move. So again, what happened was yesterday, AVGO came up, started an uptrend, back tested its uptrend breakout, and continued. All right. And again, that was all mapped off yesterday live in the YouTube stream. All right, let's continue. Again, this is just more of the YouTube stream talking about, hey guys, long bias, bullish trend, positive bullish trend, buy program, buy algo, market shift. Again, just simply mapping off where the S&P 500 started positive and where you're supposed to be swing long. And again, I'll bring up the chart of it on the SPX right now, just so you guys can once again see that, and I will kind of put the 2 smiley faces on it. So again, you can see smiley face to smiley face, bring up the market here, and you will have, like we said before, a smiley face to a smiley face right about there. So again, that's what we were talking about in yesterday's stream, that the market is still in a buy signal. that once the market transitioned over the 50 SMA back there, that's when you're supposed to be bullish and long bias, which is the smiley face, etc. Anyways, I think this video is good for today. A little long. We didn't even get into the highlights of today's YouTube stream. That was just getting us caught up for the past couple days. So again, those are all live price targets and foresight analysis and recommendation and technical analysis and forecasting that we give in our YouTube stream. So appreciate if you guys tune in for some free info if you want, and we'll catch you on the next one.